Hi, everybody. So I'm going to apologize beforehand. I am a little sick right now, so I'm probably going to be clearing my throat a lot. Please excuse the annoying sound. But I've often heard that who you are isn't what you do. And I can believe that to a certain extent. I mean, we do so many things that we love so much more than our jobs. So just because you're an accountant, that doesn't define you as a person. No, of course not. You can be a runner or a mom or a baker. You might not get paid for any of these things, but you're easier. It's easier for you to identify with these hobbies than it is for you to identify with your job. And so, yeah, I can understand that what you do doesn't isn't who you are. But on the other end of the spectrum, you do spend a lot of time at your job or with your employer, so it does make up a little part of you, maybe not all, but a little bit part of you. And I really do think that this really transfers over into the way that you speak with people or your primary communication style, because there are so many different ways that people communicate. No one is better than the other. I mean, you just really have to adapt with who you're talking to and the way that they speak and the different listening styles. But I definitely do see a pattern among certain industries and how people communicate within those industries. Um, One example would be engineers. I've noticed that engineers are very direct. They're very to the point. They need facts. They don't really care about the BS or any of the fluff. They really just want to know what they need to know, and that's really it. And so, one example that I actually have was an interview that I had last month or a couple weeks ago with this engineering firm. And I was interviewed by three different people. One of them happened to be their lead engineer. And he seemed okay, he seemed nice, I guess, but I could not understand his questions. Part of it was because he had a really thick accent, but I've dealt with people with accents before. It was primarily the way that he was wording his questions. I just really couldn't grasp what he really wanted me to, not so much what he wanted me to say, but what he was trying to ask. So it was really hard for me to address the issues in which he was hoping that I would talk about when I can't even understand his questions to begin with. And so at some point during the interview, he had to get up, go to the whiteboard, and start drawing a picture because he couldn't verbalize what he wanted to ask me. I'm not really used to that because I talk all the time and I enjoy communicating and I enjoy expressing myself via words. But for him, it was different. For him, it was, I guess, much easier for him to draw me a picture. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, other than engineers, oh, and let me get back onto that point. I dated an engineer for quite a while, for a couple years, and I could speak from experience that it's sometimes difficult when you're mixing two different communication styles together. With him, he was very, like I said, direct and to the point. And with me, I like talking about things. I like the fluff. I like building conversations and having good conversations. But for him, it was a lot easier and to him, I guess, more effective to just say what you need to say and that's it. But for me, I feel like that's sometimes comes off as distant. But I mean, neither one of our styles is better than the other. It's just it took time to adapt to. So, like I said, the other end of the spectrum is could be salespeople. Salespeople, they're very personable. They are so persuasive. They love to talk. They like to bullshit, and so they make a living personalizing conversations and making the person they're speaking to feel important, feel like the center of the universe because that's how they make their sales. That's what they do for a living, and so I really feel like this carries over, transfers into their personal life. And so with salespeople, they love to talk, they love to build a repertoire, and they're good at it. I mean, good salespeople, they're hard to find. Sales is not an easy occupation at all. I personally don't like it as much as I do like to talk. I'm not a salesperson. I don't find it as easy to do, I guess, as other jobs. But yeah, it's just if you look at the two spectrums, you'll have the engineers on one hand that they don't really talk very much, or they do talk, but they're very direct. Then you have salespeople who love to be like to personalize every single conversation. Let's drag it on. And neither one is better than the other. They're just really different, and it really takes time to adapt, especially when you're coming from one style to another. It's really important to understand that what you're saying may seem perfectly okay to you, but speaking to somebody else and having them having to listen and respond, it's a little more difficult for them. So it's very important to just realize that there are differences, to recognize the importance of adapting, and the more you do it, the greater the chance that you become an effective communicator. And it definitely increases the chance of a mutual understanding while decreasing the misunderstandings that may arise, like such as the example of me and the guy that the engineer that interviewed me. So, like I said, no one style is better than the other. It's just adapting to the people that you're talking with, the styles, the listening styles. It's just as important. So, give me an example. Let me know how maybe your styles clash with other people, or one way that you've learned to adapt. I'm really interested in finding out some examples. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.